Hi everyone and welcome to Isamu Rats and 12 Days of Enrichment. So today we're going to look at a different kind of subject in terms of in-cage and out-of-cage enrichment. It's not one that you would normally think about in terms of your cage setups, but it is very important to rats. So if we look at kind of rats' natural behaviour, they spend an awful lot of their time doing something as simple as washing and keeping themselves clean. In fact, I think they've been rumoured to spend more time than cats do. Definitely a large percentage of their lives. And to kind of almost back that one up, we can see a small Chocobo's paste. Of course, her daughter gets in the way. Chocobo is currently having a bath in there. You'll have to believe me because Chocobean is conveniently in the way. But one thing we need to try and do when we're thinking about cage setups, and actually something that we can enjoy to do with the rats when they're out of the cage, is to give them opportunities to keep themselves clean, to groom in a more effective way, and so on. So one of the number one things we can do with this in the cage is to think about offering them some open water. And by open water, I mean a bowl of water in the majority of cases. So we have here a crock which has just got some normal water in it. What I do sometimes do as well is I will put supplements in that water as a bit of a kind of like motivation, and actually my preferred supplements out of water, but the rest of the time I will also put in water. So we'll just stick this in with them. I don't expect them to immediately go mad and start grooming in it. They might have a bit of a drink though, and they do quite like fresh water. Clearly Chocobo's quite interested. Oh bless her. Her lump is getting more in the way now. I'm going to have to do something with it. There. Right, so what water does is some rats will use it to kind of like just have a drink, quite normally, perfectly nice, and it's a nice thing to offer them from that aspect, so you're giving them a choice. Some rats will also do is they will have a drink and have a wash, like Chocobo's doing here. Some rats will stick their whole head in, some will just put their paws in and kind of physically wash themselves that way. It's something that's quite nice for them to do. Another thing to think about when you're thinking about grooming and hygiene is I find that rats very often do enjoy sitting on perches to wash, and it takes them a bit out of the way. Yes, I can see you, I know what you're thinking of doing this. Yes, and you are escaping. Right, we're going to go do the good old shut the cage door before Gemma juggles all the rats in the cage again. Yeah, so they do quite like having these kind of perches, and we've got another example down here. They're now all showing off at their wonderful grooming behaviours, but I do find mine likes this kind of perch. They don't necessarily like to groom just in the litter tray, let's say. They like kind of options around or on the floor. In fact, mine quite often like it relatively high up as well. It's something that they quite often choose to do. Everybody's grooming, this is quite nice. And also using that nice perch that we made is not just good for jumping, it's also good for grooming on as well. So try and bear this in mind when you're thinking about your cage setups, and give them water, give them a few perches around the water so they can think about grooming off that. If you don't have like a coop cup like that, you can get ones that clip on and hang on the cage side, or you could get a very thick, heavy kind of dish. I would say warning with the dishes is they get full of crap, literally full of crap quite often. To be fair, that which is quite high up gets fairly full of crap too. But the lower down ones are lethal for it. But also if it's on a shelf or something, it can be pushed off and can kind of fall on the rats. In fact, I had a rat do that off a work surface and break her tail, which was quite skillful by kind of all tennies, because she managed to fall underneath it as she kind of knocked it off. But it's something I'm now very conscious of and quite careful with what I put high up. I quite like those coop cups because they literally just slide and click in. I think they're kind of called crock pots or something like that quite often. But that's quite a thing. Another good thing you can do for grooming, which will be our topic for tomorrow, is provide company. And that is a really big thing in terms of they do love grooming each other. But yes, so I would say top things in cage are providing water in different formats, not just in water bottle format, and also providing perches and spaces where they can do this. Right, now we're going to have a little bit of a look at how we can kind of, when I say free range, I'll say out of the cage in this case. What can we do out of the cage in terms of encouraging grooming with our rats? So I'll just pause for now and we'll move over to the next area. Right, so we're now on my kind of seat area in the rat room. I haven't been here for a little while on this setup, so it's quite nice to get here. So what we're going to talk about is grooming outside of the cage, and kind of how we can make it a kind of fun, enjoyable experience. Now rats don't need grooming, I should say this. There's a rare situation where a rat you might get in from rescue or such, which is in such kind of like bad shape and bad kind of cleanliness that you might need to give them a hand washing. And when I say that, you would typically just kind of give them a wipe over with a damp cloth or similar. But actual act of kind of grooming our rats and helping them groom us can be a really nice bonding experience. And there are a few things that you can try for this, and it's very much the key thing here we're trying to do is find something that both the rat and we enjoy doing. So stroking is a very good example. Stroking is a lovely way of getting the kind of coat extra shiny. Some rats really like it. Mog really likes my microphone. Let's go that side, Missy. Yes. So stroking down the whole body is quite a kind of relaxing experience for some rats. I mean, I will say on this, none of my rats particularly like keeping still. If you've got a cuddly rat, they're likely to enjoy this a lot more. But so Mog does quite like a kind of a good stroke down, and it also gives you a good chance to feel over the whole body, so it's a really good point from a health checking point of view. And it gives their coats a nice shine if you kind of do this. I've had a few licks off Mog over this. Another thing we can think about, soft bristle brush. These are typically sold for kind of puppies and rabbits and such. Some rats like them. Mog doesn't seem particularly bothered by it. Do you want to have a sniff though? My rats quite like sniffing them. But yes, it's not something that she's particularly kind of fussed either way. You can see the evidence of previous rats enjoying this for all the wrong reasons. Another good thing you can use is just a soft bristled toothbrush for children. I normally use this to clean their tails, but it can be nice just to see and to kind of have a bit of a feel. Where do they like to be brushed? Do they like being brushed? Do they prefer to be stroked? I wouldn't go straight in. Some people get into their heads that they have to be able to kind of flip their rat over and groom their bellies and everything, and that's not necessarily what the rat wants. In fact, very few rats automatically want that. They might let you do it eventually and grow to like it, but it's not something you should expect automatically. Now clearly I have just hit the spot on what Mog wants in terms of mutual grooming. I don't know if you can see her particularly clearly here, but she's licking me like mad. What she wants is a shoulder scratching, and this is something that I find quite a lot of my rats do like actually. I'm just spending a little bit of time, and we won't spend long because Mog will want to get off and do things, but it's a very nice kind of little mutual grooming session, and it is about finding out what they want. Not every rat will want the same thing. Not every rat will want to stay still either. No, Mog's had her fill now. She's had our little kind of small bonding session. And when you've got lots of rats, it's quite nice because you can kind of like pick one up, try another thing. But I'd say some rats like to be stroked very softly and gently. Some like to be scratched. Some like to be kind of properly groomed. I've had rats in the past, if Mog will cooperate, who've just liked being stroked backwards. Some hate being stroked backwards. Mog says, I'll give you a lick, but I don't like that as much as shoulder scratches. And actually I'm getting a bit bored now. Try different things in your kind of journey to kind of get that bonding from grooming, because if you think about it, grooming's something that rats will do to each other, and it's part of the way they kind of enforce their group bond and kind of become better friends with each other. So for them it's really socially important, and it's something that we can really benefit from as well in terms of our relationships. A little bit of mutual grooming is brilliant, and also let the rat groom you back. They will enjoy that, and it's something that they'll get a lot out of too, the fact that they can kind of like lick you. Mog gives me little licks sometimes, and when I'm scratching her shoulders in just the right place, she'll start grooming me, so like nibbling my skin as well and giving me licks and such. It's very much a kind of like see what they want to do and what they like doing. In Mog's case, Mog wants to go on the floor and have a run around, so we'll probably call it quits for that from tonight. But definitely have a go, find out what your rat likes. Don't expect it to last for long, but just enjoy it if it does. So have a bit of mutual grooming, and make sure you give them that kind of grooming, washing opportunities in the cage too.